Hey beautiful souls, Hannah here from Reality Awareness. Of course, welcome. If this is your first time to my live stream, please let me know where you are tuning in from around the world. And I feel really called to do this energy update. I've just come out of my Trust Your Intuition private support group, and I feel like I really need to share this part because as always, not as always, usually I'm really onto, I'm like, okay, this is collective, and I think just at the moment I'm going through something really huge myself, and I forget that I'm not the only one, right? So I'm coming on to do an energy update and to specifically talk about these energies because so many of us that I've now noticed are really going through so much of the same thing. Of course, collective shifts, right? Now, you have to just bear with me for a moment while I share this live stream. So if you are tuning in, let me know where you're from, say hi, and let me know if you guys have been feeling this stuff, right? When everything feels like it's upside down and falling apart, it's actually falling into place. Now, how many times have we heard that and we're like, but it doesn't feel good. And that sentence certainly doesn't freaking help, right? So, hey, Lexina, lovely to have you here. And Robin, hi. So complete paradigm shifts, yeah? And remember that this is the shift in energy dynamics from the Uluru activation that happened last month, yeah? I personally feel that these energies are only going to amplify. And just like I posted earlier on today, what did I say? So this high frequency, this everything's falling apart. There's a really high frequency in the planet, right? And I feel like this is only going to amplify, intensify, and it's also our new normal. And this is a period of adjustment that we really need to adjust to, right? Hey, Nicola. Yay, from Wales in the UK. Awesome. All right, let me just share this and I'll be totally present with you guys. So the things that I really want to share about this is I'll just be present for a second while I share this. Super important. Okay, awesome. I would be sitting outside, but it's really windy here. And the dust storms have been coming through in the past 2 days because I'm still in the outback, so my eyes look extremely even more red. I've gone from sitting at my computer screen to being out here with the dust. I'm just oh, my eyes. And it feels clogged out. Who has had that experience where they go out bush and the dust? I don't know. Has anyone else had that? Anyway, it's a thing. So picking dust out of my nose and all those beautiful things, right? Being out in the bush. So now, what I really wanted to share, is this really high frequency energy. So you may have remembered a little while ago, I shared around, what's that astrologer's name? She is Pam Leo. Thank you. Was someone picking that up for me? I was did somebody just pick that up? Intuitively, I picked that up. So Pam Leo shared, it was end of November last year or something, and how our entire solar system is moving through the universe, and actually where we've moved into, so would be by now, is that our whole, around our solar system is this big magnetic bubble, right? And we've actually moved into a place in the universe, wherever, where we don't have the magnetic bubble around our solar system anymore. So if you guys can imagine, that's a complete different energy, frequency, state of being. That's a very, very different vibration, right? And I feel we're all adjusting to that, let alone the Uluru activation, and Uluru and that whole experience is the whole power center of the earth, right? That was what that activation was about, was a whole recalibration of the way that power energetically is used and or abused on the planet. Yeah. So this whole recalibration that's going on, and I feel everything that a lot of people are going through. So I've been going through my own personal breakdowns, and I noticed the comments I haven't gone through. I'm getting there. Somebody said, yes, I've had a breakthrough, but I didn't have to have the breakdown to break through. And what I wanted to reply to that is, and I will get there, is the fact that I'm yeah, that's so true, right? Because I know, and the reason I broke down before my breakthrough Is it my self-care? Little bit out the window at the moment with me driving all this way and animals and all the jazz, right? No excuse. No excuse. That is right. Yeah. But am showing my hand and saying that if my self-care was top-notch in peak condition right this moment, I probably wouldn't have had the breakdown before the breakthrough as well. So hence why I always harp on about self-care, self-care, self-care. If your self-care is up there, we can handle things a lot better, especially even energies as well, yeah? So I'm really curious with you guys, like what sort of things have been going on, yeah? You've seen my journey and my story as I've been posting about it, and I'm really curious for you guys. Have you guys been having like complete recalibration shifts of your life, right? You think you're going in one direction and then all of a sudden, like total different life direction is like, okay, those plans are not happening, so what is? And it's almost like anything we try and control or make happen, totally out the window, right? Yeah, I had a breakdown today. I literally feel like my head is about to roll off. Yes, there's a lot of people having these breakdowns. And the other part that I forgot to mention is right now, it is like dark moon when everything is being stripped away, like recalibrated. Everything is being like torn apart. Like it is the shedding time of this period of time in the month as well. So it's really important to remember too, right? So this whole like breaking down to break through, remember I always say the hardest part is just before we have the breakthrough, right? That just before we're about to break through. So Robin says continuous need to declutter and cleanse. Yes, the whole like shifting of the energy, right? And this whole like, you know, really want to point out, like if you can imagine like with the Uluru, the power center, so it's a bit like having a cord, right? So they say, you know, in our solar plexus, it's like a cord to the sun, yeah? It's like, it's almost our anchor point, even though some people would say it's a sacral chakra. I feel like at the solar plexus, there is an anchor point. It's like connecting us to the sun. It's like our umbilical cord grounding point, right? And so what I personally feel is that for a long time on Earth, that cord or that anchor point, that the way we receive power for humanity as a collective has been, say, plugged into a particular source, right? And I personally feel that the reconnection and reactivation of Uluru, the power center, was that source long time ago when that got thrown out the window and whatever things happened in all these centuries gone by, right? Or thousands of years gone by, is that got disconnected, yeah? And so humanity's being plugged into this, say, not so conducive, not so healthy source of energy, yeah? As a collective, as humanity, as the Earth planet as a whole, okay? Now, when Uluru got reconnected back, you know, in January, and the whole ceremony and all the things that have happened, right? That was unplugged and plugged into the correct source as humanity as a whole, as a collective, right? And so if you guys can imagine, it's a bit like, right, and if you're listening to this on YouTube or right now or the replay and you haven't listened to the energetic fallout of removing yourself from somebody's energy audio, please let me know, send me a message and I can send you the link. Like, it's literally that. So like we've been plugged in energetically as a whole for a long thousands of eons of time, and then we've been like disconnected and like plugged into the correct source through Uluru being like recalibrated and the sacredness of it and all of that happening. As a humanity, we've been plugged into a new source. Now, energetically, the fallout that is happening from that is that everything in our life that is not in alignment with our higher purpose, with our life purpose, with the direct source of being, everything that is like the old humanity, for example, right, of what I just shared, is like disintegrating. Totally disintegrating, falling away. Now, when we look at what I just shared then as well around what Pam Leo said and our solar system moving through humanity, right? Humanity, like solar system moving through the universe, right? And the magnetic field coming off. When you look at also what I just shared then around humanity being plugged into a certain source, and now Uluru has been reactivated into the correct source, right? that's a pretty big deal energetically, like those two things. And then when they say, you know, like what came first, the chicken or the egg? What happens first? What's outside of us or what's inside of us? Is inside of us just a reflection of what's out there and vice versa? Like, we could go down the rabbit hole, right? So when we look at that recalibration and that reconnection, I feel like everybody having a breakdown, everything that, you know, like you might have put up with in the past is no longer okay to put up with. You might all of a sudden have stronger boundaries. You might all of a sudden go, you know what? I'm worth more than this. You know what? I'm not putting up with that shit anymore. Like, and you know what? I feel like as a collective, that's what's happening, right? And that's why I think too, when they said, you know, like all these other astrologers' predictions and stuff about the planetary lineups, and this 2020 we'll see more like protests and things against, you know, people having a voice and actually saying that's not okay anymore, and all this stuff is, I personally feel, because this re-plug in to the correct source is taking our power back. When we look at the solar plexus, it's our self-worth, it's our self-esteem. It's taking our power back, so being empowered instead of disempowered, right? It is literally like plugging into this right source. It's our energy center. It's the sun. It's golden yellow like the sun, right? It's our life-giving force. It gives power to the rest of our chakras. My other hand's going down to the lower chakras, right? It literally powers up all our chakras. It is like a really important chakra. And when you can think of that on a collective energy on the earth, on our planet, being reconnected, huge shift. It's probably why all the, you know, natural like storms and like all the stuff is being like amplified, or, you know, the whole cycle has changed back from, is it El Nino to El whatever? Like there's those two cycles, right? A dry cycle and then there's a wet cycle. Like that has just shifted recently, and that's why everything is being recalibrated back. Yeah, floods and all this sort of stuff because the El Nino cycle is finished or whatever. There's two of them, right? I forget their names. But it's kind of like there's a big power shift happening on the planet. So if, self-worth has been a big topic for you recently, yes. So all of a sudden you might be like, you know what, I'm not putting up with that anymore. You know what, I'm raising my prices. You know what, I'm not doing that anymore. You know what, like it's just like, that's enough. Like I'm worth more than that. You know what, I'm going to take my power back about that. I'm going to stop complaining about that, and I'm actually going to do something about that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's what's going on. Yeah. So when everything feels like it's totally falling apart, really keep in mind everything that I've shared, and it's like this disintegration, because when we plug into the correct source, we no longer need those things to fill us up anymore because they just don't feel right. We're like, oh, this feels good, I'm staying here. And so everything that is not in alignment with that disintegrates, is no longer tolerable in your life. Like you step up to a whole new level, right? And so breakdowns is breaking through. Like we can't hold it together anymore. It's like that was not okay, and it gets to this tipping point where we're like, you know what, like it's just not okay anymore, right? We have to do something about it, and sometimes it's like forced upon us to do something about it. You know, relationship breakups, career changes, you know, moving house, like things that have been there for a long time, all of a sudden that's not okay anymore, right? And that might be really confronting, it might be scary, we might be moving into a space where we're like, I've never done this before, but I know I can't keep doing that anymore, and I know I have to do this, but I'm really scared, but I know I have to do it, right? It's like, it's not an option to not do it anymore. So please make sure you are surrounded by people who you know can support and help you, not those people who are bringing you down and telling you all the reasons you can't do it. And then being able to take those steps to continue to stay strong in what you know is right for you, rather than going back out of guilt. Yeah. So even though we might feel guilty in saying no, or these things might be talking you into all the things of like, you know, how it's supposed to be. It's like, well, no, you need to stay strong in this, because in the past you probably would have known that the guilt will drive you back, and then you'll be like, oh my God, why didn't I listen to myself, right? I'm going to talk about trusting your intuition. This is where this is heading, because in trusting your intuition, right? Trust your intuition. This is the core of it. Trust your intuition, my course, is based in the solar plexus. Like it is a solar plexus based course, right? So it's like when we look at taking our power back, right now, humanity is being asked to trust their intuition no matter what any outside source says. Yeah, big time. So let's check these comments. So yes, stop complaining. Yes, it's such a big one. Own my power and do something about it. Shift my feelings about it. Exactly, right? Like, I'm going to talk about this in another live stream coming up soon about the biggest thing that changed my life was the way my mindset speaks. Yeah? About money, about relationships, about my own life, about the whole freaking thing, right? I've got so much to say about this. I'm going to do a specific training coming up soon on money and how it's like totally shifted my reality about changing like 3 or 4 words. It's actually a sentence, but it is like the biggest thing, right? Anything that you're complaining about, guys, you're going to make it worse because you're feeding it. You might as well be staying over here, right? When we stop complaining and start changing our words, even though our reality doesn't match our words just yet. If we keep saying this, well, it's just going to keep being here, right? If we change our words, this is where we start heading. But the hardest part is in the start when our reality is not yet that, okay? So I've got a whole training coming up on that soon. Keep an eye out for that in the next couple of days, right? Okay, so, and please keep an eye out for this training, right? There's so many people that are struggling for a job right now, okay? And the training that I'm going to do coming up is specifically around finding a job and why it's so hard and everybody's struggling to find a job. It's really going to be about this, people struggling financially, all of that sort of thing. So please keep an eye on it, being like behind the scenes, working on this actual training, because it's not just a live stream. I'm actually going to do a live training for free out there with you guys, because so many of you guys are saying around, you know, money, job, hunting, nothing's working, why, stuck for months, years even, right? And I'm really going to speak to this because this one thing changed my life and I'm going to share that with you guys, yeah? Can't bear you guys being in this anymore. This is really, you want to really take your power back, you really want to trust your intuition, you want to tune into this live stream. I know I'm actually going to do it on Monday, Australian Eastern Standard Time, so maybe I'll post about it, set a time, if that guy might help you guys. So I don't know what I'm doing. I should be job hunting and I'm struggling to get motivated for office work after being on stress leave. Not good. Yes, right? Like, who wants to do an office job? Got it. Yes. Okay. Mindset is so important. So important. Yes, the mirror effect. Yes, definitely. Yeah, get excited for that training for sure. I'll post about it, right? Let me set a time for it then and I'll do a specific time set training. So yeah, on fire. Yes, this is what happens when we really connect into our personal power and start shifting from here over to here, right? So this is being our energy update. Please send me a message if you would like that audio. Maybe I'll share that publicly as well. I know there's some of you guys that have listened to it already. So it's the energetic fallout of removing yourself from somebody's energy. It's a full training in there as well, so that can really help you. So if you think this can help somebody, please share it with them. You can share it on your page or a personal message to them, or you can tag them in the comments. If you're watching on live stream on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. And of course, if you're watching on the replay, ask me any questions on the comments and I will come back to them. And I shall see you guys soon. I love you heaps.